Cara Morris.
Welcome to Well, There You Go, a weekly discussion on books, hooks, and courts, where we give our views on reads, music, and wine. So let's get started with
Well, There You Go.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Well, There You Go. Tonight, we are discussing the book of Luke, Earthquake, by yours truly, Iris Bolling, USA bestseller author. So let me just tell you who's in the room with me, who's going to take this journey with me, right? So we have Miss Iris Bolling herself. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Iris, and thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us as we discuss another literary treasure.
All right, indeed a treasure. And we also have MsPrissy, better known as Cara Parker, better known as MsPrissy.
Hey, lawyer book lovers, welcome back for another session of shenanigans.
That indeed. And I am your host for tonight, MidnightAce of the MidnightAce Book Bar and Custom Creations. So again, let's just dive right in because we never have enough time to talk about this book. And this book to me was two books in one, if you will. So we have Luke Lassiter. Right? So we have Luke Lassiter. And we find out if you've been following us in this journey, you know that Luke has been somewhat of, I'm calling a phantom throughout the entire series. You know,
right.
on the front, he's been an athletic, he's been an NFL player, and but he does been doing some things on the scene. We really didn't know about it, but this book we get a chance to see a taste of what he's been doing, and boy, has he been busy, right? And then we also
doing a darn thing.
And then we also meet, he is the last Lassiter to kind of quote unquote fall in love. And so this book really, she captured all of this in this book. So kudos to you, Iris Bolling. You did a really good job. So ladies, so where do we start first? We always intend to
start with the family tree.
Yes, that is a very good place to start.
I think we start with the family tree. There was a lot of questions about the cover. How we got that tattoo on that man's back. And so let's start with the family tree itself. This is the family tree that we had.
Yeah, baby.
Right. And it has all of it. And this by itself is eye-catching, right?
It is.
But what we did is, of course, we combined the two. And can you imagine seeing a back like that? With that family,
I can't even imagine sitting there for one piece of, what do you call it, branch, let alone for a whole tree.
Yes.
Oh well, here you talking about a man of many talents. Awesome. I'm sure this tattoo was, and then because of the reason why this tattoo is, guys, it's a pretty piece of art. Don't get me wrong. The man himself is
a pretty
beautiful piece of art.
Yes, he is.
But the significance behind this tree will blow your mind, right?
It
For sure.
It is, and this is what the whole story is about.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that family tree is so significant, because this is what the whole story is about. And the thing that if you came in on the tail end of the Gems Gent series, or if you just read the Gems Gent series without reading the Heart series, you may have missed the beginning of the saga that ended in Luke's story.
Mm-hmm.
Because the beginning of this story really started in Look Into My Heart, the third book of the Heart series, which was Samuel's and Cynthia's story.
Right.
And there was a mention of Samuel's past love in that book. And this is the story on how Samuel, we never really knew why Samuel was given the name Hurricane. Right?
But I think you'll understand by the end of this book.
You know now, because when he destroyed. He comes through and he wipes everything out. And now we understand why his name was Hurricane. His code name was Hurricane.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the book
I
too, when
think
you
it's
see him,
fitting.
you almost feel like he had, if you don't know better, you almost feel like he had an out of body experience, because this last scene was so intense, right? So if you don't know Samuel in all of his, if you haven't read him all the way up until then, you would almost think that he was out of character. But really, this was character for him.
Because Samuel was the quiet one. He was the
Yes.
calm
Right.
one.
He was
He
the
was the
Joe.
one that always gelled people together, when they were having differences and things of that nature. One of my favorite scenes about Samuel is when he pulled his sister Pearl into the
Mm,
living room to talk with her about this woman he has
Cynthia.
fallen in love with, who was Cynthia.
mhm.
And just the way that he brought Pearl and Cynthia together in itself shows you he has those diplomatic genes in him too, where he can talk people into coming
Yeah,
to a
he's very diplomatic.
yes,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, I
But we
also
saw
too,
the other
Iris.
side.
Yeah, and Iris, that you mentioned that scene, which we talked a lot about when we talked about Samuel's book. Um, it also shows the dynamic between the Lassiter family. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that Samuel was so much saying that I won't take her as my wife if you don't like it, but he cared enough to talk it through with her to let her
Right.
know. So he cared about her feelings just as much as he cared about his and Cynthia's feelings. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And
Yes,
Very,
so
very
I
true.
yes.
think the dynamic about that, and so just that particular scene right there will help you understand in this book all the things that was going on in to take care of the family, what one will go through, what lengths they would go to protect the family.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think in this you say that this story was two stories in one.
Yeah,
To me, it was three. It was the story of the days, um, the whole
you're
day
right,
family.
you absolutely
Yeah,
right.
It
the
was the
Yeah.
Day
day
family for
family.
sure.
It was the story of the Lassiter's family,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
then it
Yeah.
was the unveiling of Luke.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it was
Yeah.
really three
Very
stories
true. That is
Yeah.
because
very
you
true.
really got the background story on the days in
You
here.
did, you got a little
Yeah.
bit of history of back in the
History,
day what happened.
yes.
And I think too, a lot of people, with just keeping with the days, and guys, here we go, we jumping now, but we did give you we did give you kind of the basis of it with the family tree and
At
everything,
least
because
this time we told you who we were talking, what book we was talking about.
that is, but we
I
haven't so much
saw
talked
it.
about Sasha, but we're gonna go with that because as Iris
Yes,
had
you got to
mentioned
get to the
before, you got
Lucathon.
three families in here that we're talking about, right? Yeah, so you got,
Yes.
well, no, you don't really. It's just two because
It's,
Sasha is a day, but
right.
Stephanie is not. And so here with Sasha and the Day family, you see a little bit about Lena. For those of you all who has not accepted that Lena has kind of redeemed herself, you kind of see a little bit about this. But at the banter between her and Stephanie, you kind of figure, like, at one point I said, "Oh, here we go with the pot calling the kettle black," because weren't they doing the same thing? Back in the day, they were doing the same thing. Um, but
But
Lena
Midnight, I
found
agree
the
with
error
you.
of her
We are
ways.
really essentially talking about three families.
Yeah.
The last family that we're they're not bloodline family, but there's a work family that comes together in
True.
That
this
is
story.
true.
True.
That is
If
True.
true.
when you have a work family, people that support you at work and in your regular daily life, that's considered a family to me too.
Yeah.
So
But you know what? It's funny you would say that, Miss Prissy, because I think that Luke's work family, he trusts just as much as he trusts his
blood
Mhm.
family,
blood
yeah.
family.
Mhm.
And he has to
He had
because
to, yeah.
he has to because of the work that that he did. And I have to say, guys, I got to write so many great scenes in here, scenes that I just love. And I bet you the ones that you're thinking of is not the ones that I'm thinking of
It
because
was a lot of scenes. It was a lot
It
going on
was.
in this
It
the
book.
was.
scene that
Your
started
mind is
off with
extraordinary, Iris. I mean, the way you implement so many characters, but still give them each their distinctive,
Hmm.
you know, flow
boy.
in the story and everything, and how you bring it together is like, I
Yeah.
don't know what
Thank
word to
you,
put
my
to that.
darling. I really should be on a writer for somebody's network because
You
you know
really should.
I really should.
Yeah, you could write. You could definitely write for somebody's network, but I
But
don't know. I
but
don't
the
know if they could
opening
take
scene,
you. I don't know.
I know, because I would have them going down every kind of path, and I would have them blowing up cities and stuff. But in the opening scene, this is when Luke and his team are in another country,
Hmm.
and
Right,
um, some people come into their space, and they have to go out there and they have to defend this space. So you get to see them, him and his team, in
Hmm.
action, and you get to see their special skill sets that they have. And I had to introduce that first so that everybody could understand how this team works together with each other and how much power they brought with them as far as the things that they were skilled in doing. Right?
right. You
Yeah.
know what this
Now,
book brought me? Not to cut you off, but I gotta say it before I forget it. This
okay.
book brought me to mind, Iris. The fact that you had, Luke was a football player over there in another country. Yes, he played the sport, but that was his cover,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
How
Yes.
many of our athletes, a lot of them are from other countries, but how many of our
Yes.
American athletes are going to other countries undercover for something else?
There was a player, and Olajuwon, I might be saying that wrong, but there was a football player who was actually a prince. He played in the NFL,
Oh,
and I can't
I
think of
think
his
yeah,
name.
you are right. I think I do remember something
I
about
can't
that.
remember his name, but he was actually a prince of another country, but he
Hmm.
played in the NFL. And when I first started writing this story, I was kind of using him as my image or
Hmm.
my vision for who Luke was and how the international role plays a part
Right.
in what we do. And remember,
Yeah.
he was over there representing the NFL with two of his other
Right. Right.
players when they was there. So books it opens up with action.
Yeah,
It
it
does.
does. I mean,
It
it was
opens,
action all the way through, whether it was sexy,
yeah.
steamy action, or with a
Or,
Lucathon, or just
Yeah.
somebody blowing somebody up, or somebody
Look.
kidnapping somebody.
or when Morgan came across the Thanksgiving table at
Oh,
Stephanie.
Yes.
oh my goodness. But wait a minute. Let's before we get into that, let's go back because it's been said that people sometimes will ask in the series, is there any book you should read beforehand? And we all agree that you should read Matthew's book
Yes.
before you
Yeah,
read Luke's book.
but you should read Matthew's book
Matthews
and
and
then
Monique's
James'
book.
book. You should
Yeah.
read
Yes.
James'
Monique's
book
book.
and
Yeah.
then read, well, you probably need to read Monique's book too, or you probably need to read Look Into My Heart too.
Well, you
Um,
should read the entire series, but just if somebody is jumping on this train late and they
right,
Yeah. I
right,
want to
would
right.
just
say
want to get to
Monique
this point,
book and Matthews book for sure.
I would say I don't know if
I don't
we
know
had
about
two
I don't
books.
know Monique.
If
Well,
we had,
Monique, so that
Yes.
you can get the history of the days.
But not
James'
only
book.
that, but so you can get how Sasha and Luke met.
well, not well. The only thing I would think that's prevalent from really meaningful for Monique's book is going to be the death of Content or what however we say his name
Santa.
Content.
Because that
So
is
because
what
that's
leads
what
these
yeah
two forces to come together to
right
go against
Right.
the last.
right.
Right.
So
So
And I
read,
can't see
but
how
you
y'all could skip
also
the fact that's how Sasha came into Luke's life
I was going to say
because
you
that
also
was
need to
very
read
prevalent.
Monique's book because you need to know the history of the days.
Well,
You need to
yeah,
know how Sasha came to be.
but it didn't start in Monique's book.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
No, we knew about Sasha a little
You
bit
knew
before
of
Monique.
Sasha.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew of Sasha, but you didn't know any history of or background
Right. We didn't know
or
that she
Sasha
was
or the family or Al or
Alan
Lena
Wu.
or any of that.
Yeah,
And
that
that
she
all
was a
came out in
language
Monique's
person.
story.
I don't know. I kind of thought I remember something about her, uh, Al making contact or trying to make contact with her before Monique's
He
book.
did. He did. He tried to make contact. He tried to. He really tried to be a part of
Her life. Even
Sasha's
though he
life.
could see her afar from afar what's going
Right.
on, he
And remember,
he didn't want to
Tucker.
force himself
Tucker was
in her.
always there.
Yeah, he was there for Monique and possibly Sasha at that time more than Al was. But he just overseed to make sure that was okay. But I wanted to go back to what I mentioned about Matthew's book because the Lasseters have two sets of twins who act with twin power very differently, but they act with twin power. But really, Matthew
Matt
and
and
Luke were
Luke,
not twins,
they
but
were
they
not.
had some twin power.
They
They
had
had
that
that twin
You know what I
connection.
mean?
leprosy, the twin lepathy, I call it.
They did, which was
Did.
very much like the real twins. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? It
I
was
have to agree with you on that because
yeah.
those two were like kindred spirits. They were like,
Yes, 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 yes.
yeah,
They really
they
were.
were. They
And I,
They're
were.
I
like
and
my
I thought it
twins
was
who are twins, but act like they not twins, but
They're
they
not
twins.
twins.
right. But I think too, they both had, in Matt's book, Sally sent Luke to kind of feel him out because she felt like something was going on. But then you also see how Luke was helping Matt, but then he ended up having to turn around and help Luke, like very soon after, because
Right.
they were both feeling the same thing. They just process it differently,
Differently.
Differently.
right?
Yeah, I have to
I
agree with
think I
that
think
totally.
another thing we have to talk about or mention is how in tune Sally was with her children.
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
my goodness.
She has
Sally's
12
a
children
mama's
and she
mama
can
mama.
tell you when every last one of them is in trouble. She can tell you.
Hmm.
Hmm.
She can tell you. So how in tune she was. But I also love Luke's sense of just family. He had a
Ah,
strong sense of family. I
Very
mean,
much
remember
so.
remember the windows that were what did I call them? They were like you would have in a church, stained glass
Stained
windows
glass
mhm.
windows.
that he had in his home.
Yeah.
He was all about family.
Yeah, and
You
you would
know,
have thought that it would have been Ruby because she's the nurturer and one of the eldest or whatever. But when it came to family and actually just getting a bird's eye view, you get it
Luke,
in spades
Luke,
from Luke's
yes,
eyes.
Yeah.
yeah. I
And
mean,
let's go back to this tree because again, yes, pretty tree, we understand where it came from, but what's the significance of that? Because I remember reading this, Iris, and I remember I asked you something about where they were placed, right? So we see fire all the way at the top here.
yes,
And
yeah.
so from what we know now about what fire is doing, fire
We
has
know why she was up there.
surpassed all of them in this patriotic, what do I want to say? Responsibility that they all hold, right? So let's
They
just
they
talk about it here. So we got obviously Joe and Sally would be at the trunk.
right, but you see who they have right there.
Yes.
Ruby.
Yes.
They got
Tell us about that.
Ruby.
Explain that to us. I know we don't have a whole lot of
Because
time, but
Ruby is
yeah.
the base.
Hmm.
All of them. Samuel, Joshua, Pearl, Diamond, Matthew, Luke, Opal, Timothy, Jade, Adam, even Sapphire. They are all scared of hell of Ruby. Because Ruby don't play.
Hmm.
So,
No.
and to me, when we put this tree together, you have Joe and Sally as your base, right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But you have Ruby, so that if anything ever happened to Joe and Sally, you still got a strong base because you got
Mm-hmm.
Ruby.
Right. She's the
Ruby
anchor.
right there. And you notice it's not Samuel or Joshua that's
Mm-hmm.
in that center. It's Ruby that's in
Mm-hmm.
that center. Because if anything happened to Joe and Sally, those other siblings know Ruby is their next base.
Right,
They
But
but
we
know that.
saw that.
but you know what? I
We
also
saw
too
that
I
when Joe
see.
went down. We saw that how she took control of the
Oh,
situation
she did.
at that
She did.
hospital.
Yes,
And
she did.
she asked her brother, calmly to keep them calm. She asked those ones she knew that can fall in the deep to do
Yes,
something to keep them occupied. She did that. She had that
yes, she
family
did. And
operating like
listen,
a
and nobody
machine.
questioned.
Right,
Nobody
Yes,
questioned
but you see who flanks Ruby,
Samuel
for
and Joshua.
sure.
which is again back to the hospital scene, Miss Prissy, that you mentioned.
Samuel and
How
Joshua.
they all knew their jobs, and
Right.
they were given their instructions through Ruby, because usually the instructions is coming from your Samuel, your Joshua's, and that kind of stuff, because it's all about safety, about
Right.
protecting them from the country. But when it came to family, it was Ruby dishing out the responsibilities, and everybody was following, right?
But let me tell you something else about this tree. On this tree, you have, if you remember all of the stories, when Diamond was going through her thing with Zach, who did Sally assign to balance her off? And who did
Ruby
you
and
see
Samuel.
balance right there? Pearl
Hmm.
and Diamond. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Did she?
when Matthew was having a problem, who did Sally send?
Luke.
Luke. Luke. And when Timothy was going through his thing, who was there? Who was his strength?
Opal.
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 And when Jade was going through her thing in New York, who kept calling her every time something was happening?
Adam.
Adam. It was Adam. And then you have Sapphire at the top. Y'all notice is nobody balancing Sapphire?
Yeah. And that
Right.
was the one part about this tree that blew my mind.
Know why nobody's balancing Sapphire? Because Sapphire is the ultimate. She is the ultimate Lassiter. She is that one that can, even though she's the youngest and all of them
Hmm.
flow, but y'all see they flow beneath her,
Yeah.
not above
Yeah,
her.
because when in Sapphire's story, Joshua was on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joshua was on it.
Wait. I know we jumping. People gonna say y'all do this every week. I understand we do.
Well, we sorry,
But
because
Joshua and LT's conversation in the car when they was going to save Fire, I don't know who was in control of what.
Yeah,
Joshua
because I
was
know
there.
LT. I could just see the look on LT's face, like, "Are you serious right
really
now?
at a time,
Tell
this
me
you got to
about."
do this now. Do this now, really?
But the thing about it is, I'm so glad that the tree, people really paid attention to that family tree because that family tree tells you the entire story of the Lassiters,
It really
all
does. It's that tree is
including Fire.
awesome.
And what
But
you have Fire now, and notice we didn't put Fire, we put Sapphire
mhm.
Right.
because Sapphire is going to rain hell on people, and they
She
all
truly
know
is.
it. All of them know it. Just look at the reality of what's happening now.
Look, Luke was like,
Samuel, Joshua,
"I
and
gotta
eventually
train her."
Adam are going to be answering to her.
Yeah, all
People,
of them.
Where, okay, so that situation where Samantha got kidnapped, it
who
was,
came in?
and when Samuel,
Sapphire
when
had it
he
under
was giving Luke
control, honey.
hell, but when Sapphire came in there, she said, Sammy, we can't do that. Sammy, we can't do this, but here's a beer, just chill, okay? Because we
Chill.
Yep.
got this, right?
That
That's
when she did that, I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh
why.
God!
Look, it's
And
more to say
what
than
did
just
Samuel do?
feelings.
What
He
what
shut
did
up.
Samuel do? He
shut up.
chilled.
He shut up.
It is something. This story, Luke's story, just encompasses so much about the Lasters, and being able to go back in and read it, not writing it. When I went back in to read it, there was nothing in the story that I would change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
There's
was
nothing
nothing
to
in the
change,
story that
really.
I
I
would change.
mean,
I love the way that we learn, we unpeel what Sasha's issues were. Um,
Sasha.
with her mom. Um, we kind of unpeeled what Stephanie was really all about,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, let's
Sasha had known this. This wasn't a surprise to Sasha. Remember, nothing that Stephanie did in
Surprise,
that,
Sasha.
none of it surprised
Because she
Sasha.
but I
experienced it
think she
all
was a little
live and up
taken
personal.
yeah, but I think she did get a little bit taken aback when Luke finally revealed what she did. I think that was probably a card she didn't know.
I think Tank is the one that was really upset by that more than anybody else.
She was. She was.
Tank was not about that, and she had gotten to the point where she liked Sasha,
Right.
and Tank,
But I like Sasha.
But none of them liked Stephanie at first meet. I don't even think Leo liked her, and Leo didn't say much. Leo didn't even like her.
None of
They
them.
all admitted that she looked good to have a daughter that age, but they was like, her attitude and how she was had nothing, took.
Now, there is one thing that Stephanie gave Sasha that I think is very pertinent to her personality. Sasha had no problems with her sexuality.
She didn't.
No, she didn't, and she didn't have.
Remember that meeting with
Remember in Monique's story when she was
they were in the sip room,
right?
And she said what she said,
and she said, "Oh no, like, no, that wouldn't have been no thing for them, because I was very good, if they had, it wouldn't have been no shame on my part."
Wasn't it some pictures that was floating around there? Is that what it was? Some pictures were floating out there.
Yeah, they was going to throw some pictures around.
And she was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
She was
like, let them look
which way I look.
But another thing too, I think it's important for Sasha, not that I feel like anybody should be alone like that, but she had no problems being in company with herself. And I think a lot of us, if we are really truthful with ourselves, we do have that problem, where we have to have somebody with us. But she didn't have to be. She was like that only child that played with herself, made her own friends, that kind of thing. And
she didn't have a choice.
That is me. Being the only child, I don't have no problems. My kids be, why is so quiet in here? John's like, don't you want to turn on the TV?
She wasn't even the only child. She never really got to be.
Right, because she wasn't allowed to have any friends.
Yeah, and then once her grandmother died, she was raising her mother.
Right,
she was
she was raising herself. That mother, I don't know.
To be very self-sufficient after she, to realize the lack of motherly and grandmotherly love and support.
But let's just touch a little bit on these parents, Iris, because
which parents?
You got some that need to be in an island like Alcatraz just all by themselves because they are just like, wow. So Stephanie, granted, she was brought up in kind of a hostile environment in itself, but there was one thing that Sasha had said that I totally agree with her. Okay, so when you're young, you have nothing but your parents because that's your roots, right? But when you become older and you learn some stuff about the world, you should be able to make some decisions on your own. When she became a mother, it was very clear that her mother was not accepting of her. Her mother showed her true ass. I'm sorry, y'all, but she did. And then it was at that point she needed to make a decision. okay, you blamed Al. She blamed Al for putting her in that
Everything.
situation with her mother, but
Yes.
your fast tail was
Everything.
out there hanging with that dope dealer.
Mhm.
Right. And remember what Lena shared with us.
Right.
Remember, it was Sasha who went to Lena and wanted to know how much money Al was making because she needed to know.
Stephanie. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stephanie,
Mhm.
because she needed to know that Al would be able to afford her. Remember, that was a young Stephanie.
Yeah.
Stephanie. Yeah.
That
So
was
she
a young
put herself in that situation, but she blamed Al. She
for
blamed
everything.
Al. You know what I mean?
So then,
And
so
then she
because her mother did.
I know,
Her
but then
mother
my
made
thing is
that.
that Sasha knew who her mother was like, and she did her investigation. So
Yeah,
she trapped him in a sense, you know. She
yeah,
trapped him
she did.
into being able to take care of him, and he did, and it still wasn't enough for them. At
Because
that
she said
point,
Al was supposed to marry her and take her away from her mother.
Well, that didn't happen
That
apparently.
didn't happen.
But you know what was the funny part to me when Stephanie made the statement to Luke about um, her working her working taxes going to a family of 12.
You said what? It said what? Which one?
When did
Which
you work?
it was during the Thanksgiving when Luke came over to Al's house, and then
Yeah.
and again, all of them had problems with these Lassiters having these 12 kids, and the state having to have to take care of them. And she said, "Oh, your mother. At least I was responsible enough to stop at one, but your mom
Yes.
just kept on going, and then now, my money is taking care of them."
And
And
Sasha was
everybody
like,
stopped. It
"You
was
didn't
like,
work."
"When did you work?"
what money? What money?
Oh
You
my
didn't work nowhere. Ever.
Yeah.
Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Oh my God.
Ever. You
But
know.
but I also too like as far as since we're talking about parents though, I love how immediately and I don't know how much Al shared with Ryan, but immediately she went into nurture mode with with Sasha.
With
Mhm.
Sasha.
Uh it was
And
just
look,
yeah.
Sasha's older than her, isn't she?
Is Sasha older than Ryan?
Sasha's
No,
older than Ryan.
I don't think
You
so.
sure?
So
Yeah,
No.
Sasha
I
was
mean,
like
but no,
she's older than Luke. She's older than Luke, but I don't know if she's older than
I don't know if she's older than Ryan. I think they're not far
yeah.
Right.
away in age, but I don't think she's older than Ryan. She
I,
is
I
older
Okay.
than Luke.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's
She
older.
she's
is
older
older
than
than
Luke.
Luke, but she is not. I don't think she's older than Ryan. But remember, Ryan went through quite a bit too. So she under with her dad and her family when her mother died. So
Mhm.
Hmm.
she understood some of what Sasha was going with, and
Was
she just
going
welcomed
through.
her with open arms. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
it
Right.
was no thing for her. She just welcomed her with open arms.
Yep.
But what was funny was that Monique's book or was that Luke's book? Was Luke's book because Sasha ended up going to the hospital and she didn't understand why everybody shows up
For a
For
birth.
these
with
babies.
with the
Wait,
baby.
what about the one where I don't know who was it that was being born when her and Luke was in the shower and he got the call. They was I don't know if they were in the process of doing their do or they was in the shower, whatever. He got the call that somebody was having a baby. I can't
Oh,
remember.
Rock. Rock was having the second baby.
Rock. Okay,
Wow.
yes. And then he got
Yes.
out, dried off, was like, come on, we gotta go. And she's like, what is with you guys with this whole
Yes.
running to these births? And it wasn't just the women, because normally it's always the women, but it's
But it was
complete
the men.
families
The
that's
whole
going.
family.
The
Right.
whole family. The
Right.
whole family
And
had
then
to
Yeah,
be
because
there
you
when
she
the
kind
two
of
last were men.
experienced that with when Ryan went
Ryan.
into labor.
Well, she kind of didn't have a choice there because she was part of that,
Right. That was her little
But
brother.
remember,
Right.
Ryan was in the hallway
When
with
she
her wardrobe.
And that was funny too. And I loved how Al handled that. She was just like, "But don't just stand there, Albert.
Watching me piss on
Can't
myself.
you see I'm pissing on myself?"
Yeah, that had me cracking up so hard. I'm
Oh
telling you,
my
Iris,
God.
your
His
mind
person was
is
like, "Wow,
just
the full government name."
full
Let me
government
let me tell
day.
y'all something. Writing Luke's story was so many different facets. First, there was the sex between Luke and Sasha.
Yes,
Oh
those
my God,
Lucathons was.
those
Yeah,
And she
Lukathons
was
was just
they
serious
were a true thing.
when he was going off on
woo.
that shit. Don't you mess up.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
she
no, no,
was
no. It was
serious.
my favorite. It was my favorite phrase from that. We had the Lucathon. We had hashtag Lucathon. We had
Yeah.
another hashtag, but my favorite one, and I think I was using this one on the post, was hashtag I'm telling Sally. When she said that, I was like, everybody just turned around. It was me too. I was like, she in there. She is in there.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Oh, but
like
let me
I
tell you
like
something
how
else
her
too.
and Sally's relationship
I
was,
did like
know,
I,
Yeah,
I
I
yeah.
did
really,
like
yeah. She got to see what a mother's, a real mother's side, a real mother's love could be like, you know.
Yeah.
yes, yes, she
So that
did.
was a
But
good.
I thought it was hilarious the way she would act every time JD or Tracy would appear in the scene, and they keep saying Uncle JD, and she'd go, Mr. President, Mr. This, Mr. That, Mr.
Yes, yes,
No, no, Uncle JD,
Oh my God.
Uncle
yes,
JD.
yes.
That was hilarious.
Look,
But
you know,
another thing that I really, really got a kick out of was showing the relationship between Sasha, Monique, Tucker, Al, and Lena.
yes,
So whenever they came into play, you could just see. I'm thinking poor Jazzy is just going to be hell on wheels for somebody because these are the women in her life that she is going to be coming up after. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So between Sasha and Monique and Lena and Al just didn't stand a chance, especially when the babies was being born. Al
Hmm.
didn't stand a chance. He could forget it. But I loved when they sit down at that kitchen table. Was that in Luke's book or I'm not sure if that was in Luke's book or not. It may have been in Monique's book, Miss Prissy,
I think the comments, yeah, that's
when
in
they were
Monique's
fixing
book.
this sandwich
Yes, that's
and
Monique's
Oh,
and
book.
it was talking. Yeah, I think
well,
that
there
might
was
have
some
been.
sandwich fixing in Luke's book, but just before uh Ryan went into labor, she was fixing Ryan a sandwich.
That was Luke's
That was
book.
no, that was
That,
in
oh, you're
Monique's
talking
book.
about the one that was in Monique's book when Sasha and Monique and I think Lena was there too. Lena was fixing them sandwiches. I
Yeah,
think it
okay.
was.
Now remember when Stephanie came in to Luke's house and all of the family was there because Luke was
Yes, the
having all
4th of
the
July.
family at his house for the first time. And Stephanie came in there acting like an ass. And remember she
Acting
set
like
her
a
her
hoodlum.
her sights on Joe and
He went up my husband. Look, everybody stepped by their
But
man.
she had she look and she her eyes was twinkling because she saw all of those men.
all of them together. But she
They
came in
were.
there acting like an ass. you
She
know
did. She
and
did.
it really took Lena, remember, it really took Lena to put Stephanie, in
In
her
her
place.
place.
It was
I don't
it,
know.
it was really Lena.
Stephanie
But
was still
look,
going
one
though.
of my
She was still going, even though Lena said what she said.
yeah,
She,
she
I mean,
was.
yeah.
She
She was.
was. She
That's why
was.
she ended up out in that guest house.
I guess so.
Wait, well, wait a minute. So guys, if you got to really read the book to understand these little things and how they unfold. But so when she got tased, like I this is what I imagine in that scene right there. I think it was
Woo.
Tank just probably said, I'm fed up
sick
with
of
this
this
stuff.
bitch.
Like it's just going on too long. Just shut up,
I
right?
said I
And she
can't
was
shoot her,
right.
you
Right?
know.
So this is why I don't like to be in crowds because I feel like people can walk up to you and shake you and you don't even know it and
You
keep
know,
talking, right?
right.
And
That's
that's just what she did. She just came in the crowd, walked up to her behind her back, tased her, whatever. But what was more like, and I gave Luke a kudo for this because while he was trying to be diplomatic and he
he
wanted to
was.
make sure protect Sasha's peace at all costs, when she said, "Can we just take her to one of the bedrooms upstairs?" He said,
He was like, oh
"It was
hell
no
no.
period, no period. Not why would you want to? Like I don't think that's a good idea." He was just like, "No period."
No. I was with Luke then.
Me
I
too.
was thinking, what is on her mind? I know that's her mother, but she know her mother better than all of them.
I also like the way that Al handled Stephanie too.
Hmm.
He
Because Al would have no problem giving Tucker the
eliminating her.
okay to take her out. But Al
Look,
didn't do that because
Genesis was ready to take her out just on
Genesis,
GP.
Genesis is always ready to take people out.
Wait, when she started talking about Tucker, I said, you know what, this woman, you know,
She know
it's
where the
like a
bodies are.
naive child when you walk into a situation and you don't know you in danger, like touching the stove and
Yes,
nobody
yes,
told you it's hot. This was her
To
because
me,
yes.
she still had that
everybody that she came in
16-year-old
contact.
mentality.
No, listen, that's where that's what I'm talking about. At some point, you gain some kind of common sense, right? You know when stuff is not right. You gotta, right? What I'm saying.
Yeah, but
So she had,
But
when she hit them with that, I know where the bodies are buried.
mm-hmm.
What they wasn't concerned because they knew
and I couldn't
they had
remember
already
when.
moved.
Right? When did they move that? Because they had moved that body
Oh, they did
when.
that. They
That
did
was
that when they
like,
were younger. They did
Yeah,
that
I
when they
know because something else
were
had came
younger.
up where somebody had threatened them about that. I
And
think it was
they had
something
it
before
was
Tucker went to
Gavin.
jail.
It was Gavin. Gavin had
Okay,
threatened them.
right.
yeah.
But
Okay.
the thing about it is,
And
remember,
Lena too.
Lena. But yeah, Lena a long time ago. But you know, Tucker and Al were special type of brains. Their brains was always to the future. Their brains was never day in, day out. Their brains
Mm-hmm.
was always to the future. Just like a perfect example. Tucker sitting on that money, that pile of money. They had no idea what they was going to do with it, but they were always looking to the future,
Right.
with everything that they did. So, and they were never, but Tucker and Al know more than JD and Brian and Samuel and Joshua and all of them
That's what you know
put
what that's
together.
why I nicknamed them. I said Joshua and them were the
Protectors.
internal CIA and everything.
And Al
But
and Tucker
Tucker,
worked on the outskirts.
right,
They,
they
they worked
were
on the
the
outskirts.
outer. They had, they knew more than what the internal did
Well, but
was
you know
going
what though,
on in the
I always like scenes when I see with Al and Alejandro because I
their
love them two
relationship.
together, right?
Yes.
These are two
They were
guys,
totally different gangs.
yeah, totally
Yes.
different
They were
games.
totally
But
different gangs.
Alejandro, and they both write at one point they both were writing the fence of good and bad, right? So they
Yes.
always had a little bit of here, a little bit of there.
Right.
But then Al is no longer, now he's just totally on the good side. He's paid his dues, he's switched up and everything. But it's always good to have somebody like that. And I think Alejandro is just that one person that you just need. And I love the scenes when they are watching their monitors and seeing what's going around the world. I
Around the
love
world.
scenes like that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But I think
Yeah. I do like that relationship with them.
Luke's book bring all of those elements together.
Hmm.
And this is
It
this is
does.
another thing, guys. The other thing that we learned in this story is that we learned that the Lassiter's family don't just end with the Lassiters. They have extended family. Because when they needed to come in with that financing to protect the entire Lassiter family and to do this mission that they needed to do, they did not have to look up the funding. They didn't have to do any of that stuff. You had extended family all around that pitched in and got them what they needed. Even with what's the child? Akande, you know, they pitched in with location stuff. Then you have little Elliot.
And I wanted to ask you about that too, Iris, because if anybody read that and if they know kind of the story, you would question that to figure out, because again, you know, we always say you don't waste words and be mindful of what you're reading. If it's not in particular to that what you're reading at that time, hold it, save it, put it in the jar, coming back again. So I read that again and I thought, okay, I don't know where she's going with this, but I think we're getting closer to see where that's going to come into play.
You are, because you're coming up on Elliot's story the first part of next year.
Okay. Right. But remember, if you remember from Brian's book, it said that he had all of that land and stuff from his heritage, from his Indian side of the family. You know, at that age, that's why the grandfather
not just the land. You know, he has the money too.
Exactly.
All of that.
So you knew that was something he had.
And you had Denise, who just she just commandeered her inheritance.
Yes.
Look,
her airplane.
Look,
I was like, when did she get a plane?
You know,
right.
But she had the money for it, but I was like, damn, when did she get a plane?
This is when she got the plane. Remember when they went to the Dakotas, and remember
I thought that was Ty's plane at the time that they was flying on.
I know. I think those people had a plane, right?
When they flew over, that was Ty's plane, but she got all of that property, all of everything that was owned by that company. She got all of that. So
and they had a plane. And they had a plane. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, I just want to bring this up because this always seems like we always get close to time and I miss what I want to say. The one part that was in this story, Iris, we talked about it. You and these mamas, you could look, nobody got nothing on you when it comes to writing.
Right. Well, let's not forget the daddies too, because there was some
mamas and daddies. But when JD and Turk was in the room and they was trying to tell Sasha how JD ended up marrying Tracy and everything, and about Lena, you know, they talk about, because they was talking about Stephanie, how it was like, well, we can tell you about some mamas.
Because they were talking about Lena, and they talking about the mamas. But that was in the wedding book, MsPrissy.
Oh,
yeah,
sure?
it was. Yeah,
that was in the wedding book. That was in Luke and Sasha's wedding book when they had that whole conversation. They was
that conversation cracked me up. When Tracy came in there, I was just laughing.
But that's the great thing about these stories. As I go back and write and read them, not writing them, but as I'm going back and I'm reading them, I see all the connecting pieces. And I try to figure out, did I know that was going to happen?
Because that's the same questions we always ask.
Yes.
Like when we're reading these books, we was like, how did you know? And when did you know? Every time you come to the book bar and we're talking about a story that you've written, I'm always asking the question. I think it's my favorite question to ask. Was it by accident or was this intentional that you did?
I am trying to, and we are going to have to rein this in a little bit later. I am trying to put together a world, the whole world of Iris books, and try to pull up all of these connecting pieces, because if you look at every series, there's a connection somewhere. And I never know when I'm going to need to pull from one of the past books to connect a piece over here to a future book. And that's what I do. So the great thing about it is we had a good basis. We had a good base,
Yes.
we had a good foundation with the
Foundation.
art
Yes.
series. And then we could filter everything else from there, So we need to put together a family tree with all of the books
Yeah.
I did told
Yeah.
you that.
to show where they connect.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are 10 minutes in, folks. We really got to bring this around a little bit, Midnight, because Luke's story encompasses everything that we discussed here,
It does.
and we haven't even gotten really into the kidnapping of Samantha.
Or really
Or
the
the
love,
women
the
drama
love.
that Luke had.
Before we talk about the kidnapping, let's hit on Sasha and
We
how
don't have time to talk
Sasha,
about the kidnapping. We don't
huh?
have a whole lot of time to talk about the way that Sasha met Luke inside one of his tunnels.
Right,
That
that's
you
true. He
remember
kind of
that.
dropped it, and what Sally told him, that person was going to
Drop
drop
into
in
his
his lap,
His
and
hand.
literally she
Literally.
and she
um
literally dropped into his life. I remember the turmoil he was going through with Terry and this woman,
yeah.
the news lady, and all of that
Yeah.
was going on.
She was a
You
trip.
know, yeah, she was tripped,
Well,
but
and then
all of that
Trish
was
too.
going on. So he was going through some things in his life, right?
Right.
And Sally said she's just gonna drop Luke in your life. And sure enough, what did she do? She came down that's down
Yes.
that tube and did what? Dropped
Drop.
right there at his feet.
But I think what Luke had offered, I mean, definitely Sasha gave him everything that he was missing in his life. But
Right
he also gave her everything that she was missing in her life,
in
and that
her
was a
life.
chance at family. And I think we cannot not leave this book without talking about her birthday party. Which, here's a girl who has never had a birthday party, who
Never
has
had a
never
birthday
had
party.
Christmas,
Never.
really a good Christmas or whatever, had not had family dinners, didn't know what it was like to have family, somebody to come at your aid or whatever. But when they gave her that birthday party, I literally shedded tears with that, because how can somebody go without for so many years? And truth of the matter is, you don't miss what you've never had.
Never
But
Right.
had.
oh my
That's
God,
true.
her heart was just, opening up to all the things. And she got her pony. It
She
was, it
got her
was, a,
pony.
it was more than a pony, but she got it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I love that. I love, and I think family, Luke was so into family, and that was the one thing that she needed that he could offer to her, and
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I love that part about that. So
I do
okay.
too. And I also think that another thing is just the significance of the Day family and the Lassiter family combining
Hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
joining. Do you know how much power that is? Do you know how the world should be afraid?
Yeah, and
Very
how much
afraid.
love that is,
Very afraid.
Not just the love, but the reach that they have. Remember, Al's reach is not just in Virginia,
And
not just
hmm
in DC. Al's reach is international. And
Yeah.
then you
right.
have Tucker, who is sitting on how many $1 billion was that they
Oh my goodness.
did
Yeah.
that money? I mean,
Bazillion.
then you look at the Lasters and you talk about Adam. Adam's reach is not of this world. And then you look at Luke. Luke's reach is underneath of this world.
Yeah,
You know,
Very much
and then
so.
going back to Adam too, his ability to invent certain things at will,
at
for
will,
whatever
at
his
will.
situation calls for, he's got a gadget for it.
And let's also look at the people that they married. Look at the spouses
Yeah,
now
yeah,
and the things
Yeah.
that they add to their family. So
yeah.
it's the
I want to
the
bring up this
entire
one
Gems and
thing,
Gent series.
Iris. What I also like we all knew Luke had was some doing something that we didn't know about, right? But we all also know the high intelligence of the Lassiters
Mm.
Yes,
because at
and the
least
days, the
5 of
lessons and
them.
the days. That's why I said the combining of these two families is just out of this world.
Right.
And you will see more of them, when we get to
Right.
other
I think
stories that's coming
before
in the
we have to
future.
go, but
Yeah,
how they Luke Sapphire and Adam, and they were selected by the government from school based on projects that they wrote or written.
That they did while in school. While in
Right,
school. Okay, now,
exactly.
folks, we do have to wrap up. Now,
Yes, we
midnight.
do. Yes,
All
we
right.
do have to wrap up. And I think we can't open up no more things for this. So what I advise you to do is get the book and then follow along. We're doing this every week and we're up to Luke's book. We'll be back again, and we'll talk about another one in the book because I think we're doing a wedding series, right, too? After
Yeah,
Yes,
this.
because we started with Sally and Joe's story.
So we're doing
right.
the wedding
And
series.
now we're
So
going to be going right into an international affair, which is Luke and Sasha's
right,
wedding.
right,
We're
which
going
is
to be
genius
going
how you
into
did
that
that
next.
too.
Yes.
So this is coming down to the end. So grab the book. It is the book of Luke, Earthquake. Grab it, read along, and then go back and get all the rest of them, and follow us there. But now I want to give you our music connoisseur, Miss Prissy, and she's going to tell us what piece of music she paired with this story.
Okay, I picked this song strictly for Luke and Sasha, and the
Okay.
song is by Gerald Levert. I was made to love you.
Oh,
Yes.
excellent. Yeah. Excellent.
Excellent
Excellent.
selection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent
Yeah.
selection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of them was
Yeah.
made for each other.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Now, midnight.
and I am your wine connoisseur for this here trio, and I picked Phantom is the wine for this series here, and I picked it because of Luke. But
Yes.
this wine is not for my sweet people. So this one is a very bold red wine. It's dry, but if you like spicy food or Italian food and you're looking for a wine to pair with it, this might do it. Also, too, if you grab this bottle, it has a little bit of fun that goes with it. It has an app, and if you put the app down on your phone and push it up to the bottle, there's a little story there. So it's a little more than just a bottle of wine. So go out and grab that, grab the book, and enjoy. And
Well,
that is
I'm the author, so I provided the story.
yes, you did. That is true. So let's end with you, Iris. Tell everybody how they can stay connected to you.
The best place to find out anything regarding what I'm doing, what's coming up next, or what kind of shenanigans I'm putting on, just go to my website, www.irisbolling.com. Just go to my website, and that will pretty much lead you to everything else. You can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I don't really do a whole lot on Twitter, but I'm out there anyway. So you can find me in all of those places. And of course, you can find my books. Just go to my website, go to books. I have a link for all of the books. I have a link for the audio books as well. Go out there, you can find any of my books there. And if you don't want to buy them from my website, all of the retailers are there too. Your Amazon, your Barnes and Nobles, your Apple, Kobo, Google Play. We're out there.
Thank you for that. Miss Prissy, what about you? Where can they find you?
Um, when I'm not here, you can find me out on social media platforms, the regular places, Facebook, Instagram, da da da. And I can be reached at my Gmail at styleset.et@gmail.com. That's stylesett.et@gmail.com.
And again, I'm your host for today, and thank you for joining us. And I am Midnight Ace of the Midnight Ace Book Bar, and you can find me at www.MidnightAce Book Bar, social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest at Midnight Ace Book Bar. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay, girl.